So yeah, I was just at on Thursdays, Julie McVeigh does this live stream, or I mean Zoom meetings, and there was like 15 people in there today, and we just discussed really interesting, deep subjects. Julie, I was on. That was the last interview I did about my near-death experience. So that's who that is. And every Thursday she has a meetup where they talk about things like astral travel. They talk about things like aliens, spirituality, the same stuff I talk about. Really cool. Today was especially fascinating. So really looked forward to that. So I'm going to talk about random stuff for 5 minutes, wait for people to get in. Yes, in case you're wondering, the title is misleading. What I actually want to discuss is something I've talked about before on this channel, but not really for a while. I want to know how these quantum leaps in development occur. It seems like it's happened a lot throughout our history, where you know what I'm talking about. Like, for example, if you consider, I'm gonna wait till that 5 minute mark before I start talking about that, because it's just gonna confuse people. But basically, today I'm discussing how things form and why do they form the way they do. Why do societies develop the way that they do, as opposed to in different ways like they could? Is it programmed? There's so many questions about that. Hi, Infinite Corridors, how are you? So, yeah, there's one thing. Hey, piano guy, you're here. First time I think I see you on the stream. Thank you for coming on. Very talented musician. But, overtones. Ooh, that's interesting. Overtones, yeah. Because everything is related to music. Everything really is. I really believe that. But so I'll wait. All right, you know what? I'll just start. Why wait? There's no point. Doing well mostly. This realm just keeps getting weirder and more absurd every day. Yeah, you're right about that. It's absolutely ridiculous. It is. You know what's sad? Infinite Corridors. I'm seeing deja vu right now replaying itself. It reminds me of the days of Colin Powell and the weapons of mass destruction. I see these buffoons come out there and say that Russia is planning a chemical weapons attack. And instantly, the moment I heard that, I'm like, wait, are we back in 2002? This is literally the exact same Iraq narrative, or Syria, or any of those, right? It's always the same story. Weapons of mass destruction, or chemical attacks. So Piano says they mean to make a big change, but small little overtones affect smaller things. You are so spot on. You are so spot on. Yeah, I think so. But it's a subject that you can just debate endlessly and go deeper and deeper into, because ultimately what it boils down to is the question of free will, and how much free will we really have, or are we just thrust into the momentum of development, however a society develops, right? Oh, Nigel. Hey, I'm glad to see you, Nigel. Thanks for coming. So yeah, we're discussing why things develop the way they do, Nigel. Societies, different societies and stuff. Why did the Industrial Revolution occur? It's a simple question, right? Very simple question. Oh, because this guy invented that, or this guy invented this, the steam engine or the railroad, but that doesn't answer. That's not enough of an answer for me. So why during that time period, was there like this sudden inspiration for inventiveness where, assuming history is what we were told, which it's not, I don't think, but let's just go based on what we were told about history. Like for centuries before the Industrial Revolution, it was all the same, basically, right? Mostly agrarian societies, subsistence farming, and very low development. You would have to go back to the Byzantine Empire or Rome to see anything really substantial, unless we're talking about the Mesoamerican world, which is different, the Mayans and Aztecs and stuff like that. So DiCello Piano says if they have a lawsuit and need to undo a publisher's clearinghouse scam, then they run the machine and undo the publisher clearinghouse and avoid the lawsuit. Meanwhile, a guy loses vape. Oh wow! So you're kind of getting into the Mandela effect then. So is that what you think they're doing? You think they're changing these little things, or there's like this butterfly effect that changes bigger things because it prevents a certain event from happening? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like that lawsuit you're talking about? Yeah, so like remember the video I made about the blood sacrifices, like the Aztecs sacrificing up to 20,000 people a year. Where did this inspiration come from for their society to feel that it's necessary to do such brutal things? They worship these gods, right? And these deities. Like, do you guys think that they actually communicated with these deities who actually wanted them to give them blood sacrifices? Or is this something that they made up? That basically it's like this was their strict belief system and they truly believed in what they were doing. And as a result, they had to sacrifice people. But it's not unique to them, right? This is something that's been ongoing for millennia cultures, okay? Let's see what you guys say. Infinite Corridor says, my question is, why are all of these quantum technologies... The chat keeps disappearing, my bad. Quantum technology is never created by regular people. It's like these high technologies are handed to those in the know by somebody in order to manipulate. Yeah, it's true. It's so true. And it's like, again, it's like this massive quantum leap in technology in such a ridiculously short time frame. And of course, there's brilliant people out there that are working on really difficult things. I mean, I told you guys my uncle is one of the top 10 mathematicians in the world. So I'm not denying that at all. Hey, Angel. So DiCello Piano says like a low C note vibrates at under 100 hertz. In the same air, a quiet G shows up anyway at 2 octaves higher, along with 6 or more other tones, but very quietly. Yeah, you're really onto something. Yeah, and wait, so are you basically saying is that like these octaves manipulate or affect our consciousness and sort of inspire this sort of development, right? So my main theme is, or my main question when I started the video is, well, how did the Industrial Revolution start? So it's not just one guy inventing something and another guy inventing something. What if you're right? What if there was like some kind of ethereal or cosmic energy that's playing these sort of harmonics or octaves, right, that are affecting people's consciousness, and it sort of coordinates a society to build in a certain way, as opposed to a different way. That's an interesting thought. But then again, there's also this idea that there has to be an element of randomness in how creation unfolds, right? And I think in our perspective, there does have to be randomness. In the perspective of eternal now, I don't think it's possible for anything to be random. And Nigel says we're historically propelled by new technology. Where it comes from is always secretive and attributed to some genius or another. Yeah, it certainly is. Angel says, I believe it does. Nigel says, in the UK, we were thought of the great men who shaped the industrial. Well, the industrial revolution started in the UK. So, right where you grew up, right? So, I think we shifted into a higher frequency on January 19th. Interesting. Let me know why you feel that. Maybe you're in a different earth than me. Because I'm not, I don't know. I'm just like in this cartoon world where it's like on repeat, where the narrative is back of Russia chemical weapons attack, and it's like Colin Powell is back in power and telling us that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. It's like a total repeat of history. So, yeah. So, Nigel, what do you think about those great men then, right? So, are they as great as, do you think they were actually great, or, well, what do you think helped them along the way, right? So you think that there is like some force behind their greatness, right? Or is there like a literal manipulation like that we don't see that constructs society behind the scenes, right? And you're right, there is a ton of credit given to these so-called great men. Like, remember this obsession with Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs was like exalted to like godlike status, and he didn't even make most of the technology to make the iPhone. He just came up with the ideas for it. He didn't actually build the stuff himself. So, but yet people treat him like he did. I mean, no offense to him or anything like that. Vibrate with Canada, it feels amazing. Oh yeah, I hear that. Yeah, and I heard that they went totally Gestapo on you guys and started seizing bank accounts and doing all this terrible stuff, which is really atrocious. But don't give up, though. Never give up. Yeah. So oh wait, I gotta get to the chat here. Sorry, guys. We're still dancing. Oh, that's so cool. I'm so happy to hear that. So Jack Peterson says they turned up in the 5G signals on that date. I think I was teleported back to the. Whoa, are you serious? You were teleported back to the natural universe. So like, what are you seeing that's natural? What you remember about the old Earth? Because I'm jealous. I want to go there with you. Infinite Corridor says there's got to be something going on multidimensionally that explains this realm. The internet was originally called the Ethernet, and I think it might be an interdimensional link. Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. It's more than just cables, right, or frequency signals. It is a lot more than that. There is definitely a spiritual component to the internet, and there's definitely a living component to it, or a sentient component to it as well. So Nigel says, but the great men were thrust into the public's perception. I think they were stooges for the hidden agenda. Interesting. Very interesting. You're probably right about that. I mean, what could I say? Jack says, I'm a filmmaker, and I found that most famous filmmakers are just writing on the work of hundreds of talented crew members. You know what? I just watched the making of my favorite movie, or one of my favorite movies, Terminator 2. I never saw the making of it, and it was quite amazing, frankly. How much they had to go through to make that happen. It was a ton of work. That's really cool that you're a filmmaker. I remember you though. I remember you telling me this a while back. DiCiello Piano says, check out the video, if it's still around, on how a modern computer keyboards, very much like a creepy Ouija board. Whoa, really? That is interesting. I did not know that. Could be God and the internet talk. That's, you know what? That's a good point, Angel. Could be God. I mean, God is everything, though, in general. So let me get back. Let me go back in time a little bit, though, and reflect on the human sacrifice thing. And there is a misconception that the Mayans were really the big ones into sacrifice, but they were not nearly as into it as the Aztecs. Actually, they borrowed the idea from the Aztecs. They never sacrificed before that. And what, like, how did that even happen? Okay, just imagine being a Mayan. And keep in mind, I have visited some Mayan ruins like Chichen Itza. Really strange energy in those places. I'll tell you that those pyramids, you go there, there's something there. There's something electric and magnetic pulsating in those places, and it's very real. Um, oh, Jack, you just made me even more jealous. The sun looks real again. It's hard to explain some stuff. Well, actually, the sun has been a bit more mild last few days. It hasn't been as intense burning my skin like it usually does. It definitely has felt pretty mild in the last few days. It still looks white to me, though. Um, Nigel says Schwab and the WF are pretending to be great men. Yeah, Schwab is not a great man, I'll tell you that much. He even coined the phrase for his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, in a brave new. Yeah, there's a guy called Jay Dyer, really interesting YouTuber, author, researcher. I watched an interview with him recently on the Alex Jones Show where he really went into Klaus Schwab's book about their plans and how it literally does look like it's like they literally just got it out of the Brave New World, like all their plans and ideas about how nobody owning anything, and it's just super creepy sounding stuff. It really is. I think they found old. Oh yeah, you know what? That's a good point. They might have found old technology in Antarctica, or it's always Antarctica, right? Or wherever. And they're just replicating what's already been done, since forever ago. I totally believe like places like Atlantis had similar technology to us. So what if they found Atlantean technology, right? And they just replicated it to make it what we have today. That is a very valid point right there. I've heard there's a giant pyramid under the USA sucking our solar energy. I can tell you that Memphis, Tennessee has a pyramid, and Las Vegas has a pyramid above the ground. Really large ones too. They're just some buildings. Actually, I think that the pyramid in Memphis, if I'm not mistaken, might be a defense contractor. Of course it would be, though. Just a moment, guys. Sorry, give me a second. All right. Underground cities are right below our feet. Oh, they definitely are. Especially below where you are, Nigel, in LA. There's definitely some weird stuff going on there. Infinite Quarter says, anybody tried the narrative detective AI website that generates storylines? I put my name in, and it basically described everything about me multiple times. Yeah, you can find info on anybody. You can find every address a person ever lived in, every phone number they ever had, every email they ever had, all this stuff. And then what's the name of that website? That's really creepy and kind of crazy. Yeah, LA does have tunnels everywhere. Yeah, it's true. If the Great Reset leads to universal basic income, I'm okay with that. I always thought UBI. Well, UBI, yeah. I mean, there is a component to UBI that I think is necessary, because there shouldn't be the vast majority of the population struggling and scraping by. That's just ridiculous. It's like we're at a point where, in the 60s, people thought that by now, that people would be working 15 hours a week and living in paradise. But most people I know, if they work only 40 hours, there's some kind of really lucky weirdo because everybody's working 50 hours, 60, 70. It's the total opposite. Um, and the more they work, the less they get paid because of inflation. So it's like a downhill battle. And inflation is real, actually. I've been watching it carefully, and I am noticing a rapid increase in prices. It's very real. Um, just search narrative detective. Okay, narrative detective. Okay, interesting. Star Trek world is my dream. Yeah, that would be cool. Like, remember that video I made about that alternative Earth where CERN developed a teleportation device? And they got rid of all transportation and everybody just started teleporting. That would be really cool for sure. I'm pretty left leaning on most things. Most liberals are atheists, which is weird to me. That's so true. That is weird. Hey, Pengrady, how you doing? So we're trying to talk about how societies develop. I proposed a manifesto many years ago: free food, free shelter, free healthcare, free education. Yeah, how can it be real if money isn't? Yeah, exactly. I took a book home from a thrift shop called The World Fair Chicago and Postcards. I got 10 pages in, lots of text explaining stuff. Oh, yeah. The Chicago World's Fair and all of these buildings that make no sense. I've seen that. I think it's the Capitol build. I don't know, not the Capitol. The Quantum of Conscience talks about it. The building in Philadelphia, the impossible architecture. I can't remember the name of it, but it looks like it belongs to a different planet. I'm not even kidding. Some of these buildings and some of this architecture, like how they built the World's Fair in such a ridiculously short period of time, and how they had this like what was it, like 100-acre building. I don't know how big the building was, but they built it in like 3 months using like horse-drawn carriages. Like, it makes no sense. Like, the World's Fair was beyond extravagant, and they built it all. Not only did they build it all, but they tore it all down, or most of it. And it makes you wonder if this was even a real thing. By the way, Dan, I also don't even believe the official world. Yeah, me too. Me too. Beyond 200 or 300 years. Well, we were just talking about the World's Fair. I don't even believe that anymore, honestly. Basically, I believe like the narrative from from World War I upward seems pretty plausible to me for the most part. Before that, everything is questionable at this point. And even things between that, like there's funny and weird stuff about the world wars too, and everything. And they built it on a swamp. They really did. Wow. They even built it on a swamp. And yeah, it was temporary. It was very temporary, not just a little bit temporary. I don't know how long it lasted, but the World's Fair was like, what, for a few months, for a year? 400 acres of land used by drudging bottom of Lake Michigan. 4 acres can have 3 Little League baseball diamonds and bathrooms and a playground. Now to do that 100 times over. And yeah, to construct something like that today would be ridiculous. And they did it back then. It's just I'm just left scratching my head too. I'm right there with you. I think people are constantly shifting into different timelines and universes. So history is always changing. Yeah, that's true. Hey, Mackenzie, how's it going? Yeah, Oh, I know that channel, Crow 7. I haven't seen him in a while. I remember that. I want to. Can you send me a link? I absolutely want to see her interview if you're on that show. That is freaking awesome. I haven't watched him in a while. I actually think he lives right here in San Diego. That is a really good podcast, though. Very, very good. Um, Alrighty. For example, I've never heard of Paul McCartney Wonderful Christmas Time song until last year, and it's supposed to be a famous song. I never heard of it either, but not because of that. I just never really got into Paul McCartney, so I can't verify that either way, but I totally believe you. The First World War was called the Great War. No, we're facing the Great Reset. Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of weird how the first two world wars started in Eastern Europe, and now a potential third world war is also starting in Eastern Europe. Is Eastern Europe some kind of like vortex for that, or like I have to wonder why that is. Like, why didn't World War One start in Spain or something? I don't know. Like, it's just weird. Time warp: Hong Kong Olympics 2020 and Dubai World's Fair 2020. Wait. Yeah. Wait. There was Olympics in Hong Kong in 2020? Really? Because I do watch a little bit of the Olympics. Huh. That might be a time warp for me. Have you guys ever heard of the actor-based reality conspiracy? I've seen pretty clear and solid evidence that at least a lot of famous people are actors that play multiple famous characters. Yeah. Reset both. Oh, Re and Set. Yeah, both Egyptian gods. You got it. U.S. generals call Europe the theater of war. Seems to be the case. Yeah. Wow. This is a really great discussion. You guys are really making me think right now. The actor, yeah, I heard of that, or I heard about the doppelgangers, right, where they find photos of actors or just regular people from the 1800s that like look exactly like modern actors today. I mean, like, what's that one guy that like doesn't die and keeps reoccurring through different time? It's like this famous character I can't remember the name of, but yeah. Anyway, so, but there's a question I forgot to ask. So it totally slipped my mind. Let me get back to this point for a second. So about the Mayans, so they just do their regular thing, right? And then they see the Aztecs sacrificing people, and then they copy them. Like, do you ever, like, why? Like, was it that alluring and enticing to them, or did the Aztecs like tell them, "Oh, you're gonna get great power from this. You're gonna get this and this if you sacrifice people"? Because if you're sacrificing 20,000 people a year, it's some kind of bloodlust at that point. At that point, it's like an addiction, right? Where you need to do it. Obviously, these sorcerers or whatever, these elders and high priests of their society, were definitely communicating with something. If they were so adamant about these sacrifices, I mean, I just don't believe that it was for. They just wanted to give it to the gods. I believe that they got something out of it too. They got some kind of power out of it too, or something, Ooh, looks like clones. Yeah, that's a good point. Some of them do look like clones, possibly, for sure. So does that mean Shakespeare's quite about the world being a stage and everyone being an actor is real? Is this place just playing out a script that changes constantly? It does seem that way. I mean, again, like, why are we where we are instead of being somewhere else? Like, I mean, yes, okay, imagine like if the world is like a seed, and in that seed is like every possible variable you can imagine. Yes, it's true. And then that seed like starts to sprout, and it becomes a flower. So does it just become does the color of the flower, is it random? Why is the flower, for example, red instead of yellow? Let's call our civilization a red flower. Why did the randomness combine into this instead of something else? It's, you guys know what I mean. I know it's kind of weird and complicated. Okay, I get it. Why were these choices made to bring us to this point? It does seem programmed. It does kind of seem acted out a little bit to me. It really does. There has to be some limited free will or something that causes things to develop in the way they do. I think. I don't know. It's a mind twister for sure. There's always a payoff for people. Humans are too lazy to do most things with zero reward. Not everyone. Yeah, that's true. Maybe they misunderstood the Mayans. Yeah, maybe. I mean, but again, it's not something that's uncommon either. Like, I mean, according to what we were told about history, like most of these civilizations were just bloodlust to the extreme. So there was, always some kind of sacrifice being made at some point. And even, like people think, the Druids didn't do, I think the Druids did human sacrifices too, and Celtic peoples as well. But Satan gives civilizations power if they sacrifice to him and his angels. That's definitely part of it, I think. So, I keep, they're bringing in, like, if it's Satan that's coming here, well, then it's Satan, whoever they're going to bring over here, right? And that totally might be the case that it's all for him. It's all just one big sacrifice for him. Totally possible. Aztec shamans use magic to save ourselves and help others, testing our compassion. I think a lot of it is made up, Pengrady says. Interesting. Yeah. All right, guys, let's go until it reaches the 40-minute mark. So I just wanted to give a heads up. So because my battery's kind of getting low, so we're now at 30, about 32, about 33. So a few more minutes, okay. And why do those of us here in this chat see beyond the veil of deception more than most? There's got to be something fundamentally different between us and the normies. There has to be. And like I said in the post earlier today about how I'm trying to solve the puzzle or put the link in the chain of how me and Nigel were discussing the chain too, right? The chain that is your infinite soul, and how this realm like feels like it breaks that chain or something, or it does something to it. Some kind of corruptive force here for sure. I think that has something to do with it. So I mean, it is possible that we've lived here before. It's possible that we're from the future. It's possible that we are quote unquote more evolved souls, but I'm not saying that like in a prideful way or anything like that. Like, patting myself on the back. Oh, no, not like that. Not in a egotistical sort of way, but, we have to take that into consideration. It's possible that, then the alien souls too from advanced worlds, definitely that's real too. Okay, so that's probably why Infinite Corridor is probably for all those reasons combined. And some people are here from the future. I have no doubt about that. I really do sometimes feel like I've like even maybe lived a variation of this life before, or I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's like some kind of fragmented soul memory from another soul that like quantumly entangled with mine. I don't know. There's something there though. I wish I had the answer, but I don't. D. Cello Piano says they push and pull the big events or new technology by trickle down little by little, but can't control everything. Like some ideas might come through and are small time success. Yeah. Little by little, exactly. And they can't. No, they absolutely can't control everything. There's no doubt. Not everyone seeks. Oh, that's yeah. Not everyone does. Not no. That's totally true. God brings like-minded people together because He's a God of love. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, and that's the truth. Yeah. I think we're ready to leave. It does. It does kind of feel like that, right? But I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that for years, and that's what I think of when I think of iPad Go 2. I actually, the first thing that doesn't come to mind is World War III or something like that. When I see that, when I watch that stupid cartoon for the 300th time, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is that's the moment we will leave here. So, but again, I don't know. Maybe I'm just making that up. I can't verify that, so because we acknowledge dream time. We want it more so we could see, yeah. I don't want to leave here, but I want to make it a better place. Awesome. Hey, Texas Danny, glad to see you. Glad to see you're doing better. We're about to end here, but we're discussing, why things develop the way they do, why civilizations develop the way they do, why cultures develop the way they do, right? If you want, Infinite Corridor says, we don't know how much more advanced their technology actually is. Yeah, it could be 500,000 years ahead. Well, we know, we wouldn't understand. That's so true. I think it is more advanced, I absolutely do think that it is. And again, think of it this way. I do think that their time travel technology exists. And if they have that, that makes all other technology a lot less relevant. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, if they have time travel technology, then they can change anything, anywhere, anytime. They can. That is the ultimate technology, I think. That is the ultimate one, in my opinion. Yeah, so as far as cultures, why cultures develop the way they do, well, that has a lot to do with nature and environment and their sort of local, is it a cold environment? Is it a jungle environment? The sort of animals that are around those people, that has a big influence on specific cultures. But if you're talking about civilizations, I do think that's a different thing. And why they suddenly develop and form, like even lesser known ones like Cahokia, or that was in modern day Missouri, or like the Serpent Mounds, or other ones all around the world. There's been civilizations in Africa people don't know about, in southern Western Africa. It's just interesting how it all forms the way it does, all right, guys. Well, looks like I'm gonna head out in a minute here. Any final thoughts? I really think this was a really great discussion, and thanks for coming on and participating. This is really eye-opening. Let's just see how it goes, right? Chemical weapons narrative. Deja frickin' vu. I can't even believe what I'm seeing. They probably resurrected Colin Powell and put him back in office, and he's gonna say weapons of mass destruction. And we have no choice but to go to war because of the weapons of mass destruction. All right, guys, take it easy.